Welcome to the show, sports fans. This is the Treasure Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in another edition of the Treasure Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com. Brandon Baney, as always, joined by Logan Green, our Treasure Valley expert. Logan, what's up?
Hey, Brandon. Just living life here.
Yeah, well, you're a busy guy this time of year because we have arrived at the opening round of the state football playoffs. And for those of you that don't know, Logan is, of course, a great broadcaster / podcaster for us, but he's also our sales manager, which means you've been busy calling all of these communities about state tournament ads.
Yeah, and we have had so much support this week. Like it's incredible. People just immediately, they want to help. They want to be there on the broadcast. They want to support them. And so as you watch and listen, I'm sure out there you've got some sort of interest in high school sports. Obviously, you're listening to this, so you'll probably pop into a football game here and there this weekend. If you hear somebody, go visit them. If you need something from one of these locations, be sure to visit those places that support high school sports coverage on IdahoSports.com. So, and if your team is in and you haven't heard from me, just shoot me an email, Logan at IdahoSports.com, if you're interested in being on for your team.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible what we're able to do this weekend, Logan. I don't like to brag too much at IdahoSports.com, but there are 29.
Let's hear it.
There are 29 opening round playoff games across the state of Idaho, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. IdahoSports.com will be covering 22 of those 29 first round games. It is simply incredible. And when we say cover the game, we mean two broadcasters at the game, broadcasters that live in Idaho and have followed the teams all year long, live in these communities. So the fact that we're able to pull that off is pretty incredible, I think.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I mean, it's going to be great. I mean, just being able to, like tonight, there's games, I believe. Brennan, I think you're going to a game if I'm not mistaken, but it's just nice to be able to have, when I get to state basketball time, state football time, if I'm not doing something, I want to listen what's going on. It's just, and you know what? It's just super easy to pop it on and listen to it. And like you said, we have the local flavor, right? That we've been covering these guys all year long and know all about them. And like, I think Paul is doing a Dietrich game tonight, and he knows all the coaches at Dietrich, past players at Dietrich, and we've covered Dietrich. That's just today. I'm just giving you an example, right? To just where we can add that context to it. So we're happy to be at 22 spots this weekend. In every nook and cranny, Brandon, right? Like this is not just here in the Treasure Valley. We're talking Clark Fork, Idaho. I mean, we are going to every little nook and cranny.
Yes, we will be as far north as Bonners Ferry over to, I think this week, Weiser is as far west as we get. And then all the way over to the east, we're going to be in Pocatello, certainly, but we're covering schools like Soda Springs and Bear Lake that are on the fringes of Idaho, and then all the way up north to Arco even, and up to Idaho Falls. So it's pretty incredible what we're able to pull off. So yes, if you want to see the full schedule of games that we will be broadcasting this weekend, just click on the game streams tab on the homepage at IdahoSports.com. All 22 games are listed there. And again, we can't do these broadcasts without our great sponsors. So if anyone out there is listening and you're in one of these communities and you're fired up, if you're in Weiser, or if you are a Coal Valley, I'm wearing my Coal Valley Christian sweatshirt today. Right. Coal Valley's got to hit the road for their playoff opener. If you're a Coal Valley fan and you have a business and you want to help support our broadcast, please reach out to Logan at IdahoSports.com.
Yeah, we'll get you set up. It's just a great way to, show that you support your school, that you support what we do here, and you also get, that visibility as well. So it's a win for everybody.
Definitely. All right, well, let's dive into it. Let's recap state soccer last week, Logan. There was a lot of Treasure Valley teams that cleaned up, and there was a lot of all Treasure Valley finals as well. Let's start on the 5A boys side, where you had Boise and Timberline meeting up. Each of these teams survived 1-0 semifinal wins. Boise had to get past Thunder Ridge. Timberline had to get past Lake City. They meet in the championship, and Timberline defends its crown, back-to-back 5A champs, with another 1-0 win over the Brave.
Yeah, I mean, this was what everybody kind of, if you filled out a bracket, you probably had these two playing in the championship game, right? A 1 versus a 2. I mean, on paper, right? That seems to be what you would find there. And those two met up. And I tell you, it was not a pretty day on Saturday in Idaho Falls where the state championship was. Same thing for the girls. It was beautiful on Thursday, beautiful on Friday, and then just cold, wet, rainy day on Saturday. And Timberline gets it done in the rain to win a state championship.
Yeah, it was not good weather wherever you were at. There was
That's true.
in Twin Falls, up in Post Falls, and then over in East Idaho, very windy, very rainy. So the game-winning goal, or I mean, the only goal in the match, came from Kyle Atkinson. It came in the first half. So Timberline had that 1-0 lead early on, and then the defense held. We did our state soccer preview show, and we kind of identified a player to watch on every team. And for Timberline, we chose their goalkeeper, Ben Anderson, because he's been phenomenal all year. Pitches the shutout here in the championship. And if you look at the entire state tournament for Timberline, he only allowed one goal in the opening round to Madison, which is just incredible, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I saw this in the girls district tournament when I was covering some games. Seemed like some teams, they want to get that 1-0 lead. And if it comes in the first half, like Timberline, if you're comfortable with your goalkeeper like that, you'll just go into almost like a prevent defense in football. You know what? I don't need to score another goal. If I can just stop them from scoring and not make a mistake, I'm going to win this thing. And so, that's not always the strategy when it comes to soccer, but some teams, that's the advantage, right? If you have the lead and you have a great defense, you can go. And you know what? I don't want to push it and risk maybe a breakaway, something like that. I saw Boise score on just a freak breakaway in the district championship in the girls' side, and they had just been playing defense most of the time. And so, that can sometimes come back to bite you, obviously, if you're not trying to score. But for Timberline, when you've got a goalkeeper like that, it clearly works into your favor.
Definitely. So yes, and we'll talk about those Boise girls in just a moment. I did want to give a shout out to Eagle as well. They were and Bora, Eagle and Bora both were competing. They both met up in a loser out game on Friday. Bora won that match 1-0, and then Bora fell to Coeur d'Alene in the consolation final. So overall, pretty good showing for the teams from the Treasure Valley. Let's talk about the 5A girls, and let's talk about Boise. They'd been the bridesmaid and never the bride, right,
yeah.
Logan?
I mean, how brutal is that? I think it's 4 years in a row that they lost the state championship, maybe 3 or 4, and by one goal every time. Like it's brutal, and they finally get it done this year, right? I mean, heck, their opening game was their closest one. It was 3-2 against Timberline, the 7 seed. They get out of that one and then go on to win a state championship. But I also we can still talk more about it. But you look at the other side, Brandon. Like 2 weeks ago, right, when we talked about districts, who did we say the dark horse team was that we thought was going to do well at districts and maybe push to make a run? We said Centennial. They end up losing in the first round. So much for that. Well, look what happens. Centennial, they make the run to the state championship as the 5 seed, right? They knocked off number 1 seed Lake City in the semifinal. So Boise, obviously, we'll get to them being state champs, but congrats to Centennial for getting there and knocking off the number 1 seed in the process.
Yes, we always thought that Centennial had that potential, and Centennial had to win a play-in match just to get to state, right? They had to defeat Coeur d'Alene in the play-in match, a very good Coeur d'Alene team, and I think that kind of got them battle-tested and got them ready for this run they went on. Boise, of course, goes 3-0 at state against 3 league opponents. They beat Timberline in the first round 3-2, Rocky in the semis 2-0, and then Centennial in the championship 2-0. Rocky ends up taking 4th. They lost to Lake City on penalty kicks in the consolation matchup, and then Eagle won the consolation bracket. So again, the Treasure Valley, very, very strong showing.
Yeah, the top 3 showing up there. I mean, you look at it 1, 2, and 3 from the Treasure Valley: Boise, Eagle, and Centennial. Right? Rocky. Excuse me. Boise, Rocky, Eagle, Centennial. Those are the top 4 coming out, and Boise leaves with a trophy. Centennial leaves with the trophy, Eagle leaves with the trophy, and Rocky was right there, was a penalty kick away from leaving. So I think you kind of have your clear cut. I know it's the bane of the rest of the state that, state of Ada or whatever, they want to say about it. But when it comes to girls soccer, it's here you go. Like, at the 5A level, it's this is what you got here. These are the best teams, just being pretty blunt with it. But
yes,
they have the best talent.
And a contrast in who scored the 2 goals for Boise in the championship. Annie Liebich scores the first one, and she had been a 4-year varsity contributor and the senior leader of this Boise team. And then the second goal came from CUNY Hooray. Am I saying that right, Logan?
Hooray, yep.
Hooray.
Yep.
Hooray for Hooray. She scored the second goal, and she's only a sophomore, so she's kind of the future of the program. But boy, anyone that thinks Boise's going away, I mean, they do lose some very talented seniors, but no, they'll.
And if I'm not mistaken, right, they did it without their best player, right? She was playing with the U.S. team, and how is that your team has a player that plays for the U.S. team? Like, that's a little scary, right? And when I did some of those games, they have, and I don't know if it seems like it's like this for soccer more than other sports, but like Rocky Mountain has Campbell Wilson, right? She was a freshman, and Boise has other freshmen on their team. That a lot of these teams, they start people as freshmen. There might be 4 or 5 girls that are ready to play as a freshman, and they will play for 4 years, and then they'll fill in some from JV as they come up. But I don't know why it's like that in soccer compared to other sports, but there are a lot of younger kids that just step right in and they're ready to go, and that just makes the team even scarier as they come down the line.
I think that speaks to the club soccer scene in Boise. It's very strong, and those players that arrive as freshmen are ready to contribute right away because of what they get in club competition, I think. So definitely kudos to the Boise girls for coming through and winning the title. Let's shift over to 4A boys now, where you had another all SIC final. Caldwell, Bishop Kelly. These two have been knocking heads for like the last 3 years. It seems like a regular season, postseason. We get to the championship. And how about this? Bishop Kelly, I thought, was severely underseeded. They got the number 8 seed overall. I thought they should have been probably 5th based upon just like talent and looking at the eye test. But so they knock out Sandpoint, the number 1 seed in overtime, 1-0 in the opening round. They beat Blackfoot 3-0 in the semis, and then they get to the championship against Caldwell, where, Logan, it's a 0-0 draw through 2 overtimes. It comes down to penalty kicks. Caldwell wins it 4-3 on PKs. Yeah, just an incredible finish for Bishop Kelly and Caldwell gets away with the win. That's not the game I think a fan wants to see, and a parent, I'm sure that was gut-wrenching to watch. I saw somebody equate playoff baseball to this, and I think soccer and hockey are the same way. You're watching a loved one defuse a bomb. It's just like at any moment something can crack and go wrong, and in a 0-0 game like that, it's just one play and it's over. And then you get to penalty kicks, and it's just almost like a you can't watch type thing. But you said Bishop Kelly comes in as they were the 8th seed, right? And just completely rolls through. And like you said, a little bit underseeded, I think. And I'm sure Bishop Kelly probably took a little bit of exception to that. I mean, you look at who they played this year and who they lost to. They lost to Timberline, who, what did we just say, won the state championship, right? Caldwell, who won a state championship, and they lost to Centennial, 5A team. Those were their only losses. They lost to 5A teams and the state champion. They lost to the 4A champ and the 5A champ, and then one other 5A team. Yeah, and so give them the 8 seed, Brandon. Go ahead. And again, it's all seeded based on max preps. If you are interested in the max preps conversation, we just posted this week on the Magic Valley Prepcast. That's our District 4 Prepcast. Myself and Scott Burton, who's the athletic director at Jerome High School, and Brady Trinkle, the athletic director at Minico. We had a very long good conversation about max preps and all the problems that it was mostly for football, but you can apply some of the same things to soccer. So I joke with Scott, about this time every year we have a max preps deep dive. So if you want to, if you want to tune into that.
We'll talk about football in a minute, but I think it adjusted. It literally affected some Treasure Valley teams and where they're going to play based on some stuff. I think it changed. We'll get to that later. But.
Yes. But if you're interested in that Max Preps conversation, because Scott has a contact person at Max Preps. So he's able to reach out and talk to somebody. You should definitely listen to that or watch that. That's the Magic Valley Prepcast at IdahoSports.com's YouTube channel, Facebook page, on our website, IdahoSports.com, or wherever you download your podcasts. And by the way, those are all the same ways you can get the Treasure Valley Prepcast each and every week. So last note on Caldwell, Fabian Arguello scores the game-winning goal on the PK shootout. He's just a sophomore. And we talked about how Caldwell's got 2 JV teams as well. Like Caldwell's not going anywhere either.
No, they just reload. I think they had a kid 2 years ago, Arguello, that scored over 100 goals or something like that. And you think, oh, you're going to lose this kid. And then you just replace him with more. And just.
Yeah, I probably said Fabian's name wrong, Logan. It sounded like you had.
Are they brothers?
They might be. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. But Fabian Arguello.
It was Damien. I think it was Damien was his name, Arguello. And I swear he was in the Sounders organization to some extent. But then because of COVID, they didn't do that for teenagers anymore. And so then he came back to Caldwell for a senior year. And that one, they just, absolutely blew through everybody in 2020 and went to another state championship there.
Yeah, you're correct, Damien Arguello.
Okay.
He was the Gatorade Player of the Year. He's at Salt Lake Community College right now. And then I'm sure he'll go to a Division I school somewhere.
Oh, yeah. No, he was phenomenal. Watched him play a couple times and just made it look way too easy. And that's just what Caldwell does. Bishop Kelly is the one that went toe-to-toe with him, right? That was the team that was able to not push them around, but give them a test, right? Caldwell beat Wood River 2-0 in the first round. They beat Idaho Falls 3-0 in the second round. And then they got stood up there against Bishop Kelly. So Caldwell, congrats to them. Don't allow a single goal. And you know what? I guess you look at Bishop Kelly, they don't allow a single goal either at the state tournament and don't win it. So that's the brutal thing that can happen with soccer.
Yeah, them's the breaks. One last note on Caldwell, I promise, and then we'll move on. The Idaho Statesman had this great stat that I didn't even realize, and so kudos to the Statesman. Caldwell never trailed at any point this season, Logan. They had a draw or two, but they never actually trailed in any minute of competition this season. That's incredible.
Yeah, I don't know if that's more stressful or easier to play with, right? Like, I've got a lead, I can't let it go. Whereas I've got the lead, we're good. You know what? If I'm Caldwell, I'd probably lean towards the second. That, you know what, we got this. And a lot of those games were just out of hand. But man, what a great season for Caldwell to not even trail. And still only be the number 2 seed at state. Again, max preps, right?
Right. Yes, definitely. Okay, let's talk about 4A girls, where you had this matchup of Bishop Kelly and Twin Falls. Of course, the Bruins won the 4A title last year. They came in as the defending champs, but this time it's Bishop Kelly that comes through with a 2-0 win in the championship. BK really was in a tight match with Pocatello in the semifinals. It was tied 2-2 very late into regulation when BK got a goal. I think it was like inside of 5 minutes to play in the match. That propelled them to the championship, where they knock off Twin Falls 2-0. So congrats to the Knights, your girls soccer champs.
Yeah, they as well came in as the number 1 seed. Like you mentioned, got a little bit tested there by Pocatello, but was able to take care of business against Shelley in the first round 4-0, and then take care of business in the championship 2-0 over Twins. So kind of another, how many do we have now? 4? Every single 5A and 4A state champion is from District 3.
Yeah, it's really crazy. And again, kudos to the Idaho Statesman with this statistic, but Bishop Kelly just won their 10th state championship in girls soccer, and it's only been an officially sanctioned sport since 2000, Logan. So you're talking about 22 years of competition.
50%.
Yeah, just about. That's insane, right?
Yeah, pretty much every other year you can count on Bishop Kelly being there. And heck, the boys were also there. So, I mean, Bishop Kelly soccer is in a great spot in where both of your teams are playing for a state championship. I mean, that doesn't happen that often in any other sport, right? I mean, I can think of like Lapway did it for basketball this past year where the boys and the girls played for a state championship. Both of them won. But it's not very common to see that where your programs are so strong like those two are.
Yes, definitely. So, and this is crazy, but and maybe it's combined. No, it's got to be girls. I'm looking at the recap from the Idaho Statesman, and then the Sandpoint girls have won 8 state soccer titles. So between BK and Sandpoint, they've won 18 of 22 championships.
So you throw a Twin Falls in there.
Yeah.
And there's one of them. So 3 more floating around out there somewhere.
Yeah.
I guess we can look that up, but
well, yeah, the website that's got all the statistical information is slow to load or might be down right now. The IHSA website. I can't get it up right now, but this is crazy. BK, again, more good info from Mike Licklama at the Idaho Statesman. BK hadn't won a championship since 2018, though, so it had been a little bit of a cold spell for the Knights, but they break through, defeat Twin Falls. Gracie Rhodes scores both goals for Bishop Kelly in that championship win. And then from there, on the other side of the bracket, on the backside, you had Valley View win the consolation title. They lost to Sandpoint right away, and then they beat Canyon Ridge, and Bonneville 1-0 in the consolation final. So congrats to the Falcons.
Yeah, and they came in as a 7 seed, right? And then they come away with hardware on the other end. I mean, taking care of business. Bonneville was a 5. Everything kind of went as it should on paper in the first round. The high seeds won, the low seeds lost. Everybody moves on. But then in that next game, Canyon Ridge came in as the 6, Valley View the 7. Valley View gets the win and then moves on and takes home some hardware. So congrats to Valley View as well.
Definitely. Let's go to 3A. On the boys' side, McCall Donnelly was the only District 3 representative, right? We talked about what a bummer that they and Weiser basically were in a knockout match in the district final. McCall Donnelly won that matchup, got the 2 seed to state, gets shocked by American Falls, the 7 seed right away, 5-1.
Yeah, this was the one when because we were posting final scores for them on our social media pages, and I was not expecting to see that score come through. Where McCall Donnelly Falls, I mean, phenomenal year, and to get, I don't think anybody expected American Falls to beat them, number 1, but to beat them like that, number 2, that's a tough way to go out if you're McCall Donnelly. They end up making it right by making a run and getting that consolation trophy at the end, but that's the only team here from District 3, and they get really just shocked in the first round.
Yeah, and I always say when you lose a game like that at state, it always goes one of 2 ways. You rebound and say, "Man, we're angry. Let's finish as high as we can," or you kind of mail it in and say, "Yeah, whatever. Let's not." McCall Donnelly did the first thing because they beat Bonners Ferry, then they beat Kimberly on penalty kicks to win the consolation title, as you alluded to. So, congratulations to the Vandals for bringing home a trophy as well. I can never remember the trophies. Blue is for the championship, right?
Yeah,
is it red for second place?
I think there's too many because there's a 3rd place one, right, and then there's the consolation. One of them's black, isn't it?
There's a black, green, red, and then blue. And we talked about this on the North Idaho Prepcast this week. That's our District 1 and 2 Prepcast. That it never really made sense to me that the 5th place team gets a trophy, but the 4th place team doesn't.
Right.
Where I'm from in Montana, just the top 3 teams get trophies. That's probably not a bad way to do it, in my opinion. But anyway,
gold, silver, bronze, right?
Right.
Let's throw in another color.
Yeah, everyone gets a trophy, right? All right, let's talk about 3A girls, where I really thought Fruitland was going to repeat as the 3A champions, despite being the 5 seed. And that 5 seed was probably well earned, right? They had lost to McCall Donnelly a couple of times. And, McCall Donnelly got the 7 seed. They lost to, ironically enough, gave Sun Valley Community School their toughest matchup.
Right.
2-1. The Cutthroats win in that opening round match. So McCall Donnelly loses that, gets to the consolation final where they lose to Coeur d'Alene Charter. Second year in a row, the Panthers come in as the number 1 seed and lose right away. But Fruitland, they had a tight opening round match with Teton. They won that 3-2. Another tight matchup with Cinderella Timberlake in the semifinals. They win that 1-0. And then they got to the championship and I think just ran out of gas a little bit, 3-0. They take second place to the community school from Sun Valley.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at it, when Coeur d'Alene Charter gets knocked out in the first round, it really opens things up on your side of the bracket. And so your Fruitland, you're looking, saying, all right, this is an opportunity for us to make a run. They do make that run. They take advantage of having Timberlake in the second round. But then, it's not enough for Sun Valley. They've also, this is their first championship girls level, but the boys program has been very strong for the last couple of years. And so congrats to Sun Valley and Fruitland. Yeah, even coming in as the 5, Brandon, I liked them to make a run at it just because they had been there. They'd done that. And I've always said all year, I think to beat Fruitland, you got to score 3 goals. And that's what Sun Valley did. They scored 3. Of course, they could have won with only scoring 1 in that game because Fruitland didn't put any on the board. So pretty rare to ever see Fruitland shut out like that when you have multiple players averaging multiple goals every game. And but just a good run for Fruitland again, even with the season they had that wasn't maybe as good as last year, I guess, on paper, with some of those losses scattered about, but another great run to a state championship.
Yeah, it's the first championship for Sun Valley Community School in girls soccer. Of course, they're a boys soccer powerhouse at the 3A level. There was hail falling right before the match started, Logan. There was actual hail falling from the sky. So it was a crazy weather day. And, yeah. Congrats.
It was like this weekend, I swear, the weather's been awesome all fall. I mean, throughout for every sport. And then Saturday, it just said, okay, we're done. We're done with this.
Well, I'll be honest, Logan, where I live in East Idaho, we got snow last night, like an inch or 2 of snow. We got yes,
snow on the ground.
Snow on the ground. Had to scrape off my wife's car this morning before she left for work. Yeah, so
look out. No, we don't. We have none of that over here.
Yeah, so
that's crazy.
That's what we're
snow on Halloween. That'll be fun for the trick-or-treaters.
Yeah, for sure, right? So congrats to all of our soccer teams. And again, I said this last year, but soccer is such a wildly unpredictable match. Especially when you get to state, that to repeat as the state champion is incredibly difficult to do. And so for Fruitland girls to win state and then take second, that's a great run. And for the Timberline boys to go back to back, that's incredibly difficult to do. So fans should really revel in that accomplishment because it is really hard.
Yeah, I mean, you look at professional sports, college sports. I mean, we'll take out college. College football is a little different, but I mean, professional sports. When do you ever see a back-to-back champion? It's very rare. It just doesn't. It doesn't happen a lot. When it does, people notice it at that level. People talk about it a lot. And so, like you said, Brandon, if you see it happening here, it is a big deal. It's not just, oh, they're good. No, it's a big deal to do it back to back. There's a lot of pressure when you get to state. There's a lot of teams there that have never done anything and want a chance to do something. And, you've got a big target on your back and able to come through. It's a good accomplishment.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right, let's dive into state football. Now, state volleyball is also starting this weekend, Logan. It's all in East Idaho, Friday and Saturday, these volleyball marathons. If you want a state volleyball breakdown, we recorded a separate podcast episode this week. I talked with Lindsay Togiai Afuk. She's a great former Century standout. She won the championship her senior year, and then Century won 5 more in a row after that under Coach Pauline Theros. So she knows what she's talking about. She played college volleyball, and she broke down all the brackets with me. That is in your podcast feed on the Treasure Valley Prepcast. So you can just check out all the state volleyball talk there. So let's go to football. Logan, where do you want to start? I'll let you pick.
Let's just go down. We'll just start at 5A and go down. How about that? If that works.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm going to throw the brackets up on the screen so people that are watching the video version of this will be able to follow along with the brackets. If you're listening audio only, that's fine too. We've got all of the football brackets on our homepage at IdahoSports.com. So here we go. Here's the 5A bracket, Logan. Right away, Eagles got to bye. Meridian's got to bye. We'll wait to talk about them until next week. But you've got, let's go to the first matchup here. Kuna at Rocky Mountain. This is a matchup that Kuna last week had to play their way into the playoffs. They played Middleton in that cross-divisional matchup. Kuna had to win. If they lost, there was no way they were getting to the playoffs. They're down 21-14 late. They get a great touchdown throw from Cole Lukengay. I guess I've been saying his name wrong all year. Cole Lukengay. Sorry about that. And then they go for two, Logan, on this wild 2-point conversion play where the ball is snapped low intentionally. Lukengay lets it go between his legs. Gus Austin, the running back, picks it up and ends up throwing it for the 2-point conversion pass. Kuna stuns Middleton 22-21. They're in the playoffs. Congratulations. You got to go to Rocky Mountain for the first round.
Yeah, in that play, I've watched it from like 5 different angles, and it just gets better every time. That is the time to pull out a play like that. When a trip to the state championship or the state tournament is on the line, that's the time to use a play like that. So congrats to them for getting that done right in the nick of time and getting that bid. And you know what? If you're Middleton, I was kind of surprised. I know Middleton got up 14-0 in the first quarter of that game, and then obviously kind of let off the gas. And I wasn't there, so I'm not sure exactly what was going on with them. But man, if you're Middleton, and I guess in the back pocket that we talked about it last week, that you were going to make it pretty much no matter what. It was going to be very hard for you not to punch it in. I mean, it would take like Rigby losing to Madison and then other pieces falling around the state. But Middleton gets a bid as well, even though they fall in that one.
Definitely. So, yeah, for this Kuna Rocky Mountain matchup, I just, Rocky's so good defensively.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Brandon, okay, so I dropped off my kids at school the other day, and I live in Middleton, and the principal at their school, she has kids on the team, and she stopped me in the car line again and was like, so maybe it wasn't a terrible thing that we lost? I mean, that's not a knock on Lewiston. Lewiston, a very good team. But I think if anybody said Rocky or Lewiston, I think you would rather play Lewiston than play Rocky Mountain.
Yeah, for sure. So I kind of lean Rocky in that matchup. Let's just talk about the Middleton-Lewiston game. Lewiston is a team that started slow this year and then really found their groove as they got into conference play. They've got all of these interchangeable athletes on offense where Drew Hottinger, the quarterback, can run and throw, and he's also caught a couple of touchdowns this year. Jackson Latham, their running back, he didn't score a rushing touchdown last week, Logan, but he caught a touchdown and he threw a touchdown. They've got this backup quarterback that's kind of like Tim Tebow, Chris Rickard. He comes in and kind of bull rushes people, but he's had a passing, rushing, and receiving touchdown this year. They've got James White, the tight end, defensive end, who's committed to, I believe, Idaho, right?
I think so. I think I saw that. Yeah,
he's a stud for sure. To me, Middleton, this game will be won or lost on the line because Lewiston's offensive and defensive linemen are very strong. And so if Middleton can hold their own there, then they've got a chance.
They didn't really play anybody similar all year. They do have one common opponent in Capital, and both teams pretty easily defeated Capital. So you look at that on paper and say, okay, they both did that. I think this is going to be a very even matchup. I think Nampa Mountain View as well. I mean, Mountain View fell to Nampa. We'll talk about that later. But of all the games, I think this is the one where I don't know even which way to lean on it, Brandon. I don't know if it's Middleton. I don't know if it's Lewiston. I think it's going to be very close and might be the best 5A game this weekend.
Yeah, I think it definitely could be. And if it's not that, then I think it's the game you alluded to, the one right below it on the bracket line, Mountain View at Nampa. We remember that Nampa, it wasn't a stunner to Nampa, but it was a stunner to observers like you and me that think we know everything when they beat Mountain View in the regular season. It's always tough to beat the same team twice, but what do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, I like Nampa right now. I just think they're looking good. They're gelling at the right time. If I remember right, it wasn't like a barn burner against Mountain View. They kind of
No.
had it well in hand. And I think, Mountain View, they didn't really show us, they didn't beat those big teams on their schedule like they typically do. Um, they didn't do that. And last year you saw them fall in the first round to Meridian. I think Nampa is in the right frame of mind. I like Nampa in this one. And if I'm Highland, that is the team I do not want to play. I would not want to play Nampa if I'm Highland. I just think that uh, Nampa could cause some problems there. Highland's an interesting team because they can stop you or they can give up a lot of points but still win. So that would just, if I'm looking forward to next week already, I think that would be an intriguing game.
Now, see, I go the opposite way. I think Highland matches up okay with Nampa, where Highland has given up a lot of points in big plays this year has been through the air, and Nampa loves to run the ball, and Highland's run defense.
So you've seen Highland, I haven't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you've seen Nampa, and I haven't. So that's why it's good that we're on talking about this. And I'm leery of this first round matchup with Mountain View because A, it's hard to beat the same team twice. B, Mountain View has had a litany of injuries this year. That's really, when you look at their overall resume, you go, yeah, boy, that's not where we're used to seeing Mountain View. They have had, I think 3 different guys play quarterback this year. They've had to move guys around. And so they've been very injury plagued. The one thing with Mountain View is their offense has struggled. And so if it's a low scoring defensive type game, then Mountain View will be in it. If Nampa puts up 30 points like they do on average, then it's going to be, I think, tough for Mountain View to keep up. But either way, this should be a pretty good matchup. And then let's talk about Hawaii. They're going to travel to Rigby. It's exciting that the Storm made the playoffs for the first time in their school history. But at the same time, Logan, and Hawaii fans are going to be mad at me, but that's all right. It doesn't feel right to me that Hawaii got in ahead of Bora when Bora beat Hawaii head-to-head this year. And the only reason Hawaii got in is because they got to play winless Timberline last week in the battle of 6th place teams in the divisional matchup, while Bora had to, as a 5th place finisher, had to go play Rocky.
Yeah, and I guarantee this scenario exactly it'll play itself out. I think next year you would hope that this conversation comes up and says, all right, we need to fix the 5A bracket. We're always talking about fixing the brackets, but this is a just screaming difference here that if you're in that game, maybe the 5A SIC gets another bid, or I don't know how you fix it because it's an at-large bid. And so I don't know. I think you maybe, I don't even know what to say because it does look bad. I mean, Hawaii did what they needed to do, but they had an easier game to get there. And is that fair to Bora? I mean, nobody wants to hear that's not fair, but that doesn't seem very fair to me. That okay, if you win this game, you get in. Okay, Hawaii, you take this easy game, and Bora, you're going to take this hard one. And like, how is that? Well, like, we beat them. That's definitely a conversation that probably should be had.
Yes, and I will also say that the way the 5A at large, Hawaii got the last at large bid, which goes to the at large bids are determined by who has the best winning percentage against 5A schools or out-of-state opponents with 5A enrollments. And so Hawaii, by virtue of playing winless Timberline, picked up a 5A win, while Bora had to play Rocky and picked up a 5A loss, and that allowed Hawaii to get that last spot. So I don't know what the answer is yet, especially with an odd number of teams in the SIC, but because there was 13 teams last year when there was 12, it worked out okay. But something needs to be tweaked there. And Hawaii is walking into the Lions Den. Rigby, ever since they had that collapse against Highland, they have been a team I would not want to play.
You know what? It's congrats for making it. Have your fun trip to Rigby and come back. I mean, that sounds brutal, but that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd love to be wrong. We do. It's fun to be wrong. But man, that Rigby team, I mean, they just creamed Madison. And Hawaii. And I know Hawaii beat Madison, right? Hawaii did. That was a close game. But Rigby, they're mad. and that's not a team that you want to play right now.
No, definitely not. All right, let's take a look at the 4A bracket. This 16-team mess. Bishop Kelly is the 1 seed. They're going to play Canyon Ridge. BK will have no trouble there. Canyon Ridge, a nice story. It's been their best season in school history. Now they've only been open, 15 years or something like that, but they have been, I think it's only their second time ever even making the playoffs. So cool for them, but BK will win there pretty largely, I feel like. And of course they've got home field advantage all the way through by being the number 1 overall seed. Let's go to the more interesting matchup here. The 13 versus the 4. Valley View at Minico, the rematch. We all remember the Falcons went to Minico last year and knocked off the previously undefeated Spartans, and now they have a chance to play the upset card again, Logan.
Yeah, you know what? You cannot base anything this year on what happened last year, but it is in the back of everybody's mind. That is the rumble that it's just like, oh no, here we go again. Valley View just seems to do well in these situations, though. They just seem to love to play no matter the sport. It doesn't matter what it is. You see them do it in basketball. I mentioned it last week. They just like to play the spoiler, and they revel in that. And, man, if you're Minico, that is not the team you want to be matched up against. I think Minico does pretty well, obviously, on defense against people through the air. But, man, Valley View is going to keep it on the ground, and that's going to be a tough matchup. If Valley View can get a score or two on the board and control things, it's going to be dangerous. However, that Minico team is very good. That is a good team, and they look poised more than they have in the past to maybe make a run at it. And I really like that Minico team. I think a 4 seed is probably a little low for them, to be honest, in my opinion. I know that the conference over there not as strong as others, but Burley and Twin Falls were good this year. And so to see Minico at a 4, I think that's a dangerous spot to be at a 4.
Yeah. Now I will say the one caveat here for Valley View is the engine that makes their offense go. Tyson Fox, such a great wing back in that wing T attack. Very sad that he, in their last game against Boise on Friday night, he broke his tibia and fibula, and so he is done for the season. And so I feel really bad for Tyson Fox because he was having a tremendous season. I got to call a Valley View game earlier this year, and he's a really explosive running back. And Valley View's got other players. Farner stepped up in his absence last week, and they've got Mao, who's also a little kind of speedy scat back. But it's going to be tough without Tyson Fox, I think.
When you lose your offensive Swiss Army knife that can do everything and is your go-to guy against a defense like Minico, that is tough. Minico just very in-your-face type defensive team, and it's going to be brutal.
Yeah. So, but good luck to the Falcons. They're very well coached with Lane Coffin, the head coach there, and good luck to them. But man, that was such a bummer to see that happen to Tyson Fox. Okay, and then we've got 2 SIC teams at the very bottom of the bracket. Skyview gets in as the 14 seed. They've got to head all the way up north to Sandpoint, and I'll be honest, Logan, Skyview has just baffled me this year. I thought they would be better, and they've been non-competitive in a lot of these losses that they've had.
Yeah, I really, to open the year, they had a few losses to teams that, I thought, I can see that. But then I think the loss to Elko, Nevada, that one really turned my eyes. A little surprising. And then, put things together, at least that they beat the teams at the bottom to make it, to get one of those at-large bids. But it's going to be a tough, tall task to go up to Sandpoint, a team that I believe just dropped 67 on Moscow or something like that a week or so ago. That is an offensive powerhouse up there at Sandpoint.
Yeah, and a very good defense as well. So that's going to be a tough day for Max Cutforth and company there. And then this is an intriguing matchup. Logan.
Yeah.
Shelley at Emmett. Shelley was in the driver's seat for like a top 5 seed, according to Max Preps. Then they biffed it against Hillcrest 2 weeks ago, and that plummeted their Max Preps rating to where they fell all the way to number 11. They finished in a 3-way tie for second place in their conference, and Because of that, they were on the wrong end of that tiebreaker. So here's Shelley, a team that loves to run the ball, against Emmett, which is an explosive passing attack.
This could be the best game at the 4A level. The 6-11 matchup. It is going to be a good one. I mean, Shelley beat Blackfoot this year. Blackfoot beat Emmett. So, that circle of life goes around and round. But I saw Shelley last week. I went over to Idaho Falls and did their game against Skyline. They were right in that thing. And Shelley is a team where if you're Emmett, you cannot let them get the lead. I think if Shelley can get a lead, they will control that ball. I mean, they will hold it for 7-8 minutes at a time, and they will limit your possessions. You have to score. And that goes for Shelley too. They have to score when they have the ball. If they don't score, then they ate up all that time. And then if you can, I feel like a 2-score lead against Shelley is a great lead. It's going to be tough for them to dig out of that hole. But conversely, if they get a 2-score lead, man, they are just going to eat that clock away. So if you're Emmett, you have got to come out firing and put points on the board, or else there's not going to be many possessions against Shelley.
Yes, and that is the key, is going to be Shelley wants to limit the number of possessions that Emmett has. Of course, we know Dakota Perry and Stevie Howe are kind of like unstoppable, right? It's kind of like a I was trying to think of a good analogy, but I don't have one, where every week it's like, oh, Dakota Perry threw 4 touchdowns and all 4 went to Stevie Howe. Like, and
Steve Young, Jerry Rice. How about that?
There you go. Yes. Thank you. I was looking for something. And then Rye Fullerton also is like always, like, he was our IdahoSports.com player of the game several times this year. So,
and the thing is, Brandon, I think I still lead Emmett on this, though. I mean, Emmett has played a lot of good teams this year. I mean, so has Shelley. But last week, Shelley, so I'll say with this, Skyline, I was not very impressed with their passing game. And I don't know if it's digressed through the season, and maybe it was Shelley's phenomenal defense. But I thought it was more on the side of Skyline just wasn't comfortable throwing the ball. And so they didn't throw it much at all. Some of the passes were very overthrown, not on target. And Shelley did not have to really show that passing defense. And that's where Emmett thrives. And so, I don't know. I haven't seen a ton of games over in Eastern Idaho. You have more than I have. But I don't know. I just think that Emmett offense maybe gets it done. That's just the way I'm leaning right now.
Yeah, it definitely could be. And then I will say the game you were at, Logan, I think it was pretty windy. Which
that's true. It was windy.
Affected passing, but I agree. Skyline's passing game to me has looked kind of funky all year. I think at times they try to force the ball to Kenyon Sadiq.
Yeah,
because he's this four-star
D1. No, you should.
Yeah, but sometimes they force it even though he's double covered, or I don't know. I'm with you. Skyline has looked a little off at times this year.
And you know what? That happens. I mean, I'm a Carolina Panthers fan, and we're horrendous. Everything went through Christian McCaffrey week after week, and then they trade him, and you think, oh, they're going to stink, and then they beat the bucket. Your offense opens up when you're not trying to go to someone, force it to someone, and maybe that's Skyline's problem, but that's a different story for another day. But I like Emmett in this one. I think it's going to be the best 4A game of the week.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you there. It should be really fascinating to watch. All right, let's go to the 3A bracket go ahead.
And it's on Idaho Sports, I believe. I think we'll be there for that one. I guess we can recap that at the end here where we'll be. We're going to, like Brandon said, pretty much if it's on the schedule, we'll probably be there.
Well, I guess, I can tell you as we're going along here where we're going to be at. So for the 5A games, there will be video coverage of Middleton at Lewiston, and then audio coverage of Rocky against CUNA,
Hawaii,
and audio coverage of Hawaii against Rigby, and audio coverage of Nampa and Mountain View. At the 4A level, you're right, that Shelley Emmett broadcast will be video. Valley View at Minico will be video. We weren't able to make it out to Bishop Kelly. That's one of the games that we're missing this week. So sorry, BK fans. We'll hit you in the quarterfinals. And then I think that was it for 4A. And so as we go through
Sandpoint Skyview will be
there.
Oh,
yes. Okay. Yes. Sandpoint Skyview. We will be there for video coverage as well. So All three of the 4A games we're doing in the Treasure Valley will be video, so that'll be fun. Yeah,
can't beat that. So just plop yourself in front of your phone, computer, iPad, whatever your choice is Friday night.
Definitely. All right, 3A bracket. Homedale wins the conference. They get the number 2 seed overall. The top 2 seeds receive first round buys, and so Homedale just kicking back and relaxing this weekend. You've got McCall Donnelly traveling to Buell, and this bracket says TBA because I downloaded these early in the week, but that game is going to be Friday night at 6:00 in Buell. Buell fans are fired up. This is the first time Buell's been good in some time, and so McCall Donnelly, I think, is in for a tough test because Buell's got a pretty good defense, but you never know.
Yeah. So the first game of the year for Buell and Weiser, I was there for that one. And I mean, it was 27-0. Weiser won that game. And you look at it and say, but I tell you, it was close early. And Buell was, you could tell that they were going to put it together, that they hadn't fully gotten there. And Weiser for that matter as well. But Buell just, in my mind, I didn't see a bad team out there, even though they got shut out. And so I think they're going to be dangerous. They've gotten better as the season gone along. And, they've faced a team like Weiser. So they have faced kind of, the reigning champ, say, right? And they're going to be a tough matchup for McCall Donnelly, especially on the road.
Definitely, and they've got a great running back, Jace Bauer, who's just an absolute stud. So let's go right below that. Fruitland on the road at Snake River, 12 versus a 5. I like Fruitland here. Snake River to me is they run the ball, and if they don't run the ball well, then they don't do very well. And I don't know. I think Fruitland's a little more battle tested than Snake River.
I agree, Brandon. That was one when I saw it. I said I think that favors Fruitland. I know it's the 12-5 on this, but I think it favors Fruitland. Snake River, I think, has had some games this year that I thought they should have won, and they didn't. And Fruitland has played a more brutal schedule when you have to play McCall Donnelly, Homedale, Weiser. You've gone through the gauntlet for sure.
Yeah, and Snake River gets the 5 seed because they were a district champion. The 5 district champions automatically get the top 5 seeds, but in real Max Preps rankings, Snake River was like 9th, I think. So.
And if I'm not mistaken, Brandon, this bracket reseeds itself, right?
Yes.
After the first round. So what you're seeing here, there's almost no way to know where people, Homedale's one, or Sugar is 1 and Homedale's 2. And that's how it finished in the Max Prep rankings. But after this weekend, it'll go whoever, and I think Weiser, are they 3rd in Max Preps?
Yes.
So Weiser, if they win, it will be the 3 seed, right? So, you can look at it that way and say, Weiser is not going to come in as the 6 and have to play the 3rd seed. That's not how this one works.
Right. Weiser would go from the 6 to the 3. It's very confusing for sure. Let's talk about it. Weiser's going to play Timberlake. I like the Wolverines here. Timberlake's been kind of an up and down team this year.
Yeah.
Timberlake loves to run that wing tee, but man, Weiser's defense is so solid. I don't see how Timberlake's going to come down and do well.
Yeah, and we joke about this, me and Paul, sometimes, that Timberlake, gets their ticket to state and gets a trip down here to District 3 and gets taken out by the woodshed and goes back home. It just is year after year. I don't know how many times I've seen Timberlake play at Homedale in the playoffs and get beat really bad and then go back up Timberlake. And it's tough. It's a tough draw. You would hope to see a little bit more. And I believe they had a close game last week, right, against Bonners Ferry.
Yes, it was a very close game.
So, maybe you say, maybe Timberlake is a little bit better, but that Weiser defense is tough. I mean, their only loss on the year was to Homedale in a good game. Weiser is right back where they left off last year, so it's going to be tough for Timberlake. And that's a game you can watch on Idaho Sports. You'll be able to watch that Weiser Timberlake game.
Yes, that'll be Friday night, 6:00 in Weiser. Video coverage of that. We will have audio coverage of Fruitland at Snake River, and McCall Donnelly at Buell was one of the 7 games we couldn't get to for the opening round. So sorry, Vandal fans. Real quick, just for the 3A bracket in general, I was talking to Ryan Skaggs on the North Idaho Prepcast this week, and he talked about, well, I've seen a lot of these teams. I've seen Bonners Ferry and Timberlake and South Fremont, and his takeaway was 3A's got a long way to go to catch up to Sugar and Homedale. and Weezer. Like those top three are
Yeah.
light years ahead of the rest of the field in terms of competitiveness.
Did Sugar play a close game this year? I mean,
No.
they beat Shelley. We just got done talking about Shelley, where they could be a semifinal team, at the 4A, and they creamed them. Sugar is a just beast. And Homedale and Weezer have kind of been right on their tail. Of course, Weezer passed them last year at the 1 yard line. But it's really been Sugar's league, our level, classification, whatever you want to say. And everybody else is just trying to hold on as best they can. And Weezer and Homedale are right there neck and neck with them. But everybody else just that's a great point that everybody else has got a long way to go to catch up to those three.
Definitely. And Homedale's only loss, of course, this year was to Sandpoint, who we talked about in the 4A bracket. All right, 2A. Here we go. Melba, your league champ. They get the 3 seed overall. They get a first round bye. And you've got Cole Valley, the only other team from District 3 to make it. They will travel to West Side to play the 3-time defending Pirates in the opening round. Now, if these games had been slotted strictly based on Max Prep's rankings, Cole Valley, I believe, would have gone to North Fremont. I think they technically were the ninth place finisher, but because the selection committee had the discretion to alter the matchups to avoid 2 district foes playing each other or to try and alleviate the travel for St. Mary's from up north, Cole Valley gets shuffled down to the 11 spot, and hey, congrats, you got to go play West Side.
Yeah, that is a brutal first round game. Nampa Christian, they had to play Bear Lake last year in a game, similar trip over there, very close to those 2 schools. And man, that is going to be a tough game. It is ironic, they say we're going to alleviate some of the travel. Really the only team that, Cole Valley was going east no matter what, and so was St. Mary's. There was just no easy way for St. Mary's to make their, oh gosh, I don't know, that's probably a 10-hour trip. No matter where they go, it's brutal. Like, it's not like Aberdeen is that much. It's not that much of a travel for them to go to West Side or North Fremont.
Yes.
That is a long drive. That might be the longest trip for any team this weekend.
I think Castleford has that beat.
You're right.
They've got to go to Clark Ford.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That's like 10 and a half hours. So
man,
the other key factor why they had to change all the matchups was the 10-7 matchup was going to be Soda Springs and Aberdeen, and you can't have 2 district teams playing each other. So that's the other reason why they had to shift things around. But
and you know what, Brandon, I think it's all going to play itself out the way it does. I think the top teams are going to win these games. I don't know. North Fremont's had some problems lately, but I think they'll get it done against Soda Springs. But as much as we love Cole Valley and your nice Chargers hoodie there, that West Side team is just extremely, extremely good and very tough, and is coming off of 3 state championships.
Now, this won't be new for the Chargers. They did go to West Side in the regular season last year. It was a game that I was at. So they at least know what they're going into and have that experience. Ryan Golenor has been running the ball really well for Cole Valley. They're kind of more of a run-oriented team this year. And so with West Side, it's a low possession game. You're going to get 3, maybe 4 possessions. And if you can cash in on all 4 and stop West Side once, easier said than done, or even force a turnover, you're going to be in it, because the margin of error is so low with all these teams, West Side, Aberdeen, North Fremont, because they love to control the clock, make it a low possession game. And so the margins are thin. And so if you can get that stop or get that turnover, you've got a chance. But again, like I said, easier said than done against West Side. That is a game that we will not be able to broadcast this weekend, unfortunately, for Chargers fans. So, and we'll just, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Let's go to 1A. Oh, go ahead, Logan.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say it's going to be a tough matchup, though, no matter what.
Definitely. All right, 1A D1. You have Notice as the league champ. They get the first round bye. They're the number 4 seed overall. Idaho City gets in. They had a tight game with Wilder last week, and they end up winning. They've got to go to Cary. I'll be honest. This to me is maybe the game that has the least, we try to talk ourselves into, Cole Valley can go to West Side, and if this happens and this happens, then they could win. And it's just, Idaho City would have to play their absolute best game of the year, and Cary would have to play like their absolute worst game in some time for Idaho City to come out and get the win. And, Wildcat fans are going to hate me for saying that, but I just look at it.
Play the best game in their school's history. Cary. I mean, Cary finished 1 in the Max Prep rankings, didn't they?
Yes.
Like that is not a 5 seed. That is a number 1 team in the state. According to Max Preps, you're right. I mean, it sounds mean. It sounds mean, but that's just the way it is. I mean, that's probably a running clock in the second half.
Yeah. And then you would have Cary at notice in the quarterfinals, which would be interesting. And
awesome.
We'll talk about that more next week. This is a game again that we won't be able to get to on Friday in Cary at 4:00, unfortunately for Idaho City fans. All right. And then the 1A D2 bracket, Logan Council gets the bye. They're hanging out. They'll play the winner of Clark Fork and Castleford. We think that's probably going to be Castleford, but let's talk about the other 2 teams that made it. Garden Valley, all the way down at the bottom of the bracket. They've got to go up to Lewis County. They're going to play in Craigmont at Highland High School on Friday night at 7:00. This is another game that the Treasure Valley is like, you guys said you're covering 20 to 29 games. You're missing a lot from the Treasure Valley. It's because they're all on the road in like really far flung places that we just have a tough time getting to, unfortunately. So Garden Valley is going to be at Lewis County. This should be an interesting matchup, Logan.
Yeah, I think this might be the best matchup at the 1A D2 level that you're going to see this week. I think Garden Valley is going to get it done, but Lewis County has played tough all year. And, if you're Garden Valley and you can get it done, you just have to make another trip up north afterwards to play Mullen St. Regis, and that would be a fun game to see how that one would shake out.
Yeah, they could be the Road Warriors for sure. And then the game that kicks it all off tonight, a Thursday night affair. Horseshoe Bend. Can you hear my computer pinging, Logan?
Nope, I can't hear anything.
Okay, it just pinged like 7 times. It was very annoying as I was trying to talk. Okay, Horseshoe Bend travels to Dietrich tonight for a little Thursday night football. Hey, I guarantee this game's going to be better than whatever crappy matchups on Amazon Prime for the NFL, right?
It'll be 3-4 or something like that with 2 safeties. That's how that one will go. Yeah, and you know what? If you want to see points, just watch that Dietrich squad. Man, they can score the ball. Horseshoe Bend, we love them, but that's a tough draw against Dietrich. Dietrich might be the second or third best team in the state behind Kendrick. And they have to play in the first round. They don't get a bye. And so that was going to be tough for no matter who they played. Horseshoe Bend just drew the rough end of that stick.
Yeah, definitely. That is a game you can watch tonight on IdahoSports.com. 7:00 kickoff from Dietrich. All right, those are the football brackets. We will have actual results to talk about next week on the show. But Logan, again, we went super long, and so I'm going to let you go because I know you've got a lot of important stuff to do. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, to the Treasure Valley Prepcast. Enjoy the competitions this weekend, and we'll see you next week here on IdahoSports.com.